up 3%, up 3%, better than expected. That would be the highest level since the third quarter of 24 when it was up 3.1%. On the consumption side, up 1.4, very close to estimates. Up 1.4 would be the best since the last quarter of 24.
All right, everybody. Today is a little after 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on July 30th. Wednesday evening. Usually do it Thursday. I have a lot going on Thursday and Friday, so I thought I'd do a quick video tonight and maybe get a chance to do a short one, wrap things up on Friday. So, yeah, you have it. That is the great Santelli from CNBC talking about the 3.0 Q2 GDP. Beating expectations of 2.3, a couple in that range at least. There, I saw several expectations, 2.4 as well, 2.5. So, either way, to beat expectations. So, now what the biggest key thing, if you heard him say in his speech there, was the best since Q3 24. Remember, with the formula, which I'm not a big fan of how they come up with it, government spending is that. And we're going to show that in a second. This is growth, okay? So let's take a peek. E.J. Antoni, right? As expected, the huge change in Q1 imports has now reversed for Q2 with a plus 5.18. Okay, so this is the number that's contributing. So the points, the percentage points towards that 3%, if that makes sense, okay? So it's a plus 5 contribution, wipe out the previous negative 4.6 per points contribution. But look at government. It barely budged for the second quarter. So there you go. You see how you got government right there? It's flatlined. So we've stopped it. So that portion is taking out, okay? And it is marginally lower after months. So the point on this GDP number is key. Is government's not driving. See, it was government spending, growth, employees. When you used to look at the employment numbers, it was in services, which is health services, which is pseudo, government anyway. Okay, then it was actually government employees, whether federal, state, local. That was driving the GDP through all the fiscal stimulus of the spending during the Biden administration. Okay, so here you have government flat, but we have a 3% increase in GDP. Now, you had a lot of issues because of the front running of the tariffs in the prior quarter. You also had, for the negative number, with those front running, okay, you had that huge spike in imports, okay, and that was the front running of that. You also had a massive amount of investment, okay, that went in private investment coming in. So now, but keep in mind the expensing and the other things of the big, beautiful bill, like the one-time expensing and things like that, the certainty of the tax cuts going forward, they were made permanent. Further deregulations really haven't hit these GDP numbers yet. All right. So I would like to see the export number go up, to be honest with you. But yeah, so basically this is a pretty good number. I think I'm ahead of the 3. I didn't think we'd hit the 3% yet, especially with the tariffs and a lot of people scratching their heads how to deal with it, figure it out. But this is a good number, right? So we had front running Q1 of tariffs coinciding with massive investment, kind of leveled out and inverted here and so forth. But I think we will see more investment here, okay, especially with the energy sector driving down costs to facilitate investment. Keep in mind also we got trade deals, right? Trump just announced the trade deal this evening with South Korea, okay? We had the trade deal with Japan. Now, I'm hearing that these governments are not happy with certain things and details, and I'm not going deep into it because apparently Trump kind of changed some of the numbers on them, and they're kind of feel bullying. We got to remember, and what people who are complaining about these trade deals that think we're kind of being aggressive is that there are, even if there aren't many tariffs, there are also massive amounts of other governmental regulations and restrictions that make our imports non-competitive in these markets. And that's what these tariffs are designed to do. Okay, and they're focusing on that. It's not just about, oh, I tariff you, we get the same numbers. It's about, you got to bring down this regulation. You got to let more of the cars in, okay, or more of the product in. I may only charge a 5% tariff, right? But if I'm saying you can only sell 100 cars, well, what is that, right? It's an indirect tariff, and it's a barrier to competition. All right, so that's what these tariffs are designed to do. So I also think, particularly when it comes to American companies that are capable of doing things in the United States, as others, but also American companies, to repatriate those industries for job purposes and things like that. So anyway, this is a good GDP number going forward. When other things kick in, I'd like to see that. I'd like to see the government number drop while the actual GDP number increases. Okay, and exports and imports level, and get a 4 number. That would be awesome. That's where we should go. All right, so I thought I'd share that today. Good news today. So let's move it on. All right, Justin, GOP Senator Chuck Grassley is upset about President Trump asking him to fast track the judicial nominees. Grassley says precedent must be upheld. Remember, Trump tweets out, he's been over 40 years. He's the walking precedent. All these guys are. I was offended by what the president said, and I'm disappointed it would result in personal insults. Unreal. So then we basically just abide by precedent until the Dems throw it out the window. Remember, take filibuster for judges. It was the Democrats that threw it out. And they will. When they get in power, they will. But he doesn't even have to do that. Do a real recess, and Trump has a month to do it. You either stay home and fast track these, change the blue slip rules if you can, change whatever you can, shorten the debate process. Say, if you show a track record of, like, let's still be good, because maybe there are reasons to have debate on somebody. Say, if you're filibustering over 30%, I'll say over 70% of the nominees, okay, then we believe it's a political game, and so now everyone gets fast-tracked, and we'll remove that, whatever, because you have a certain amount of debate, even if they're not on the floor debating. What they do is they open it up, and they constantly have that going. All right, all that time goes by, now the next nominee. But you could do 3, 4, 5. Fast-track it. So then, since they're doing it, and the Senate Republicans have the nerve to put out a tweet blaming the Democrats, but they have the power in their hands to fix that problem by either going home in recess and saying, Trump, do legitimate recess appointments. Boom, 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 boom. All the slots get filled in that month. Or, because if they're not in recess, they don't have to approve. That's what a recess appointment is. Or stay there and get it done. Come on. Democrats would do the same thing, all right? They are also want control. There are a lot of nominees that they're also probably not thrilled at with behind the scenes. You know, this is Senate typical leadership there. And they're going to uphold their own agenda because of precedent. Meanwhile, the Democrats would throw that out the window as soon as they get in power again. Excuse me. So make a decision. Either go home, let Trump do recess appointments, or get it done. All right.
Thank you very much. Well, welcome, South Carolina. I want to introduce myself if we haven't met. My name is Paul DANS, and I'm your neighbor. I'm a South Carolinian by choice, and I'm a fellow American by the grace of God. It's my privilege.
So, anyway, I'd like to bring it up. That is Paul DANS. If you don't know, he's a conservative, longtime activist. He's one of the founders of the Project 2025 that Democrats are freaking out about during the 2024 election. Okay? He has announced his challenge to Senator Lindsey Graham. Now, there are 2 other people in the race as well. One I saw in War Room. His name is Fletcher. Seems like a nice guy. Vast improvement. I don't think he has the traction. And then there's another gentleman there who also had the same thing. They need to drop out. They need to get behind Paul DANS and defeat him. Because if we have 3 other people out there splitting the vote, the GOP national establishment as well as the South Carolina Republican establishment could squeak this little snake through again with 38% of the vote if this is there. They need to get out. And if that happens, you're going to start seeing this guy go not only just overtake Graham, like bad numbers, to the point where Trump's going to be embarrassed and withdraw his endorsement, and that will end the career of Senator Lindsey Graham. Now, I put this out there on my feed on X, but one of the things he said, I wasn't going to play you the whole thing. One of the things he said, I absolutely loved. Okay. Lindsey Graham is a 70-year-old childless warmonger with no stake in the future of the United States. That's it. This is our guy to beat Graham. You know, Nate Morris in Paxton in Texas, Nate Morris, Kentucky, Paul DANS, South Carolina. So this channel is endorsing Paul DANS for the U.S. Senate in South Carolina, and I urge everybody else to as well. All right. Speaking of Texas, all right, just in, Texas stands to add 5 Republican seats to the U.S. House of Representatives in 2026 should the new map pass. This is one of the maps floating out. However, there's a special session going on. If you don't know, the Texas House, even though Republicans technically have control, its leadership got into power. It was a bunch of rhinos with the Democrats. So pretend it was the U.S. Senate, right? It'd be like if Murkowski, Collins and Mitch McConnell went in and backed Schumer to get him in there. That's what happened here. So you have several Republicans backed by the Democrats. They're big rhinos, originally from the Bush-type people of their party, just like the McCain equivalency in Arizona, and they're unbelievable. And they are dragging their feet on this. You know what? Let's just say you don't want to help Trump and MAGA, right? Well, if you're going to net 5 seats, who says the winner of this primary is going to be MAGA anyway? It's a chance for you to get more people in your party, more control, if that's what you're all about, because that's who these people are who run this Republican House, whatever. Okay, but they didn't, Abbott called a special session. This is what it should be. I heard they're going home for a little bit, and they didn't get the vote changed on this because Democrats were in town. Hakeem Jeffries flew down from New York to meet with Democrats in Texas. What? Would they ever, would the Democrats of Illinois or New York go, oh, Mike Johnson's coming to town, let's hold the vote? It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. These elite people, whether it's the U.S. Senate who've been there 50 years or these rhino scumbags in Austin, Texas, they don't represent the voters. Period. Get this done. Then Missouri, then Florida. All right. Moving on. All right. A little trade stuff. Breaking. China rejects Trump's ultimatum and will not stop buying Russian oil and gas. Chinese Foreign Ministry. China will always ensure its energy supply in ways that serve our national interests. Imagine that. Tariff wars have no winners. Coercion and pressuring will not achieve anything. China will firmly defend its sovereignty, security, and development interests. Now, tariffs should be about what Trump's doing and trying to achieve economically for tariffs. Okay? It is not the United States' position. It's bad enough we use international monetary funds to put sanctions on any other policy. It should be separate. If you're the steward of that international trading system, you should not use it for your personal political gains. Both, actually. Okay? And impose your will. That is what we don't in the West don't understand, particularly the United States, of why these countries are forming. There's no ideological commonality between Hindu nationalist India, populist nationalist Russia, I don't even know, we'll call it neo-fascistic CCP, Communist Party China, and Communist Party North Korea, okay? And mullahs in Iran, and, Ethiopia, and BRIC. There's no, it's what the commonality is, they're sick of being bullied by the United States. That's it. That is the fundamental thing. India can buy from Russia we want. It is not the United States to say. Technically, that's what the United Nations was for, and the Security Council, like the Minsk Accords that were passed unanimously. But that was ignored by the West, I might add. But it is not. We're just going to push India away and South Korea away, closer to these BRICS alliance, and the West will be more isolated. Bad idea. Okay? If you have a problem with Russia not cutting back on their demands for a peace deal, that's between Ukraine and Russia and you. You're involved, the United States. You're not a mediator. You're sent aid, weapons, intelligence. So don't. You're still involved. That's how you would have ended this war. Okay? All right. You end the war by cutting off the gravy train from the what do you call it? The Zelensky regime. Okay, that's how you want if you really want to end the war. Okay, but the question is, do they really want to? I think Trump does. Okay, Russia's position has been consistent. So if you don't punish India because you're not happy with the progress of peace, and they are not scared. Russia could care less about sanctions. Zero. They're sanctions through the Gehalt in turn, 18 packages from the European Union. Us. All that happened was repatriation of money. They fundamentally changed some aspects. Their economy is growing. Okay, they had some inflationary problems, but they're much better now because they're extremely self-sufficient. And they're tight with China and India. And these countries have problems with each other, but they deal with it through diplomacy. There was a great interview once with the foreign minister of India with the BBC, and he says he said you got to understand, Europe's problems are not our problems. You don't care about our problems. And then she goes in about China and whatever. It's like we have problems and disputes, but we deal with it and we still trade because it's mutually beneficial for both of us. Okay, that's the take we should be going on. That's the true America First position. Okay. End of story. So India, good for them. Stand up. You buy who you want from. Okay, that's your deal. Unless there's some sort of major international consensus, okay, based on truth, they have every right to buy who they want to, and we don't have a right to say. And if they use international monetary systems and other systems that we are the steward of, that's shameful, in my opinion. And again, it will have a negative long-term impact in the diplomacy and economic security of the United States and our citizens. So, moving on. All right. So, Blakely, Charlie Kirk, Israel is not starving Gaza. I love the Charlie Kirk, but here we go. This is Ben Gvir, one of the leading parties in coalition with Netanyahu. Okay. Now, I heard this on the multiple times. I've heard this guy being interviewed before, among other people who've said similar things. So this was a video. I didn't feel like playing the video, but the key of the matter is right here. Resuming humanitarian aid to Gaza is a grave mistake. We can't give our enemies oxygen. Okay, what he was saying is he was criticizing Netanyahu for allowing humanitarian aid to get into Gaza. Okay. And what he basically said, we should be sending more bombs instead and all this stuff. All right, so, I've tried to stay away from this topic because it's dear to some conservatives. It's very heated. You have October 7th in there. I have seen enough now, in my opinion, that something is fundamentally going on wrong in Gaza. There is starvation. I've seen the pictures of the rubble, the live reports. Okay. And there is something going on with this guy, Gvir and Smotrich and other things, okay? And you hear reports in the English papers that seem to tone down, and then other papers translated and interviewed. So one guy being interviewed, a former member of the Knesset, said every single Palestinian is the enemy of Israel, should be dealt away with, because they'll just grow up, whatever. There's actually some truth to that, because their uncle and their aunt and their cousins all were killed by Israelis, so they're going to grow up hating Israel, and that's how this keeps going. All right, so whatever. So until I get more of a handle on this, I'm not buying some of the arguments in the West here, because this is it. How about this? Israel is over the top. That I'm 100% sure of on what's going on. Okay, and it's not just in Gaza. There's stuff going on, which I'm going to show you next. This is a letter by a Lutheran bishop, okay, who represents Jordan and the Holy Land. Okay, remember, Lutheran church, okay? That is a Christian church. So basically, I don't know. So how do I phrase this? So now let's just say this is the truth. But say both sides. Yes, Hamas stealing the food purposely. Maybe they're even trying to make it look like Israel's starving them to get sympathy by starving their own people. I don't know. I haven't seen anything 100% proven to me yet to be where I can confident in the sources because of the emotions behind it and because of all the other aspects going on. But I believe they're starving. Okay. But here's the key point, and it goes back to the last issue I was talking about and constantly dictating, pushing people. The whole world, including the majority of European citizens, and now many European governments, believe something is rotten in the state of Denmark. In this case, Denmark is Israel and its government and what is going on down there. And we are funding it. So if it is true that we're doing this, that's a bad look on the United States. Not only is like this country's bullying us, whatever, but they're backing up what is appearing to be close to a genocide. If anything, to force them out or displacement, whatever you want to call it. That is not a good look for the United States. It's just the check marks. Why am I going, if I'm South Korea, why am I staying with the United States? I'm being bullied, I could get sanctioned, and now they're funding a country that the whole world hates against that. Again, that hurts the United States' standing in the world. It facilitates countries going away from us, closer into the BRICS, closer into other military alliances against our national interests, and put American citizens' economic security and individual and national security at risk. Okay? I don't know. But I know that we shouldn't be funding whatever is going on in here. So, that's why I'm glad MTG brought up that amendment that lost 422 to 6. 2 Republicans, I think it was 4 Democrats, voted to defund the $500 billion. She was saying they're a nuclear power. We know they're nuclear power. And by the way, it's against American law, from what I understand, to give aid to a nuclear power. So, military aid to a nuclear power. But that's one of the reasons why we don't officially admit it. All right, so I just wanted to give a comment on that as well. Let's see if I can find this real quick here. All right, here it is. Can I pull it up? Yeah. This is that letter. Starts off with Psalm 46:1. God is our refuge and strength, a very present help in trouble. Early on the morning of Monday, July 28th, Israeli settler terrorists once again attacked the Christian village of Taibeh in the West Bank. This is where that guy was beat to death for 3 hours. I've seen a lot of things going on in this area all over social media. The attack was part of a systematic pattern of intimidation, violence, and destruction by Israeli senators in Palestinian towns. So this is a Christian Palestinian community, right? Why are they alive still if Hamas was going to kill all of these Christians and others? Remember, they also bombed the Roman Catholic Church, set fire to an Orthodox church as well. I believe that fire was set by settlers, while the Roman Catholics. So they're given free reign. These settlers, often protected or aided by Israeli soldiers, attack Muslims and Christians indiscriminately, killing and stealing livestock, burning cars and homes, and even murdering Palestinians. Israeli settlers killed 2 Palestinians in the West Bank already this week. The message to Palestinians is that we are not safe on our own land. Monday's attack in Taibeh hit close to home for our church. Jerry's a member of our church, and the nephew of one of our staff was in the home with the family around 2 a.m. when settlers began throwing homemade bombs at his home and car. Terrified, he was trapped inside with his wife and 2-year-old son as smoke began to fill the house. They called for help, but friends and neighbors were unable to reach them because the fire blocked the main door to the home. Jerry's son began to cough from the smoke. Thankfully, they were eventually able to escape safely to a neighbor's house. Their car was intentionally burned, destroying it, and all the equipment Jerry's used as a phlebotomist. Okay, without his card and photography equipment, he is in danger of losing his livelihood. So he went around and took blood so he could help people medically. Nice. Due to the damage in their home, Jerry's and his family cannot return right now. As he said when sharing the story with us, the world must know what is happening here. These attacks, whether on Christians or Muslims, must stop. World leaders, including faith leaders, cannot be silent. In Taipei, in Al Mughir and Al Safaya, Yalta, Palestinians are being driven from their homes and lands by this brutality. Those are Christian communities, by the way. The Christian communities are at risk of extinction. We call on our siblings in Christ around the world to speak up for the safety of Palestinians, including Christians. We call on the international community to take action and to and to end the assault on our people and bring justice to the Holy Land. Bishop Dr. Semi Ibrahim Azar, Bishop of the Evangelical Lutheran Church in Jordan and the Holy Land. What do you say? You think this Lutheran bishop is lying? I have a feeling it's, and I didn't confirm this, that this is the same bishop that was interviewed by Tucker Carlson months ago. You know? Listen, if you believe the land is yours, you're the chosen people, and there's no hell, and you're justified in your actions. But yet it is us who are funding this and allowing this to happen. They're using every excuse to seize control of the rest of the land. That's what it's looking like more and more to me. I don't think this Lutheran is lying. If he was threatened by the Muslim community, why are those churches there? Okay? Just like ISIS, they've been there for hundreds of years. They've been there since Hamas took power in 2004. But they're still standing there? Why didn't Hamas kill them? See, the narratives are beginning to unfold, and people are seeing it. And thanks to alternative media, truth can come out. And that's what I think we're starting to see here. Unfortunately, we are. And we might need investigation, really put the brakes on supporting Israel, changing our policies and views on it. And then the last question I have at the end of the day, even if these are only half-truths and whatever, what really is our benefit for all this support? Like, what is it that Israel exports to us? What is it? Is it the old British Empire model that you split the Arab people, you have a strong hegemon in Israel, and we're backing it, so there can't be this big Sunni state or this big Shia state or something that is it geopolitical? I want to know. But anyway, speaking of geopolitics, update. Pokrovsk, completely surrounded. Okay, you can see the red arrows here going in. They are definitely in the southwest of town. Everybody on both sides are seeing it. Now, what I'm seeing is what they're using is their key defensive areas in Pokrovsk, the center of the city, and then what they call the mining district. There's about they're going in literally in 2 to 3 groups of people. Fraction of a fire teams usually like 4 or 5, squads like 10. All right. They're going in, and because they use that stealth and they kind of swivel around a couple of the key line, and then they kind of connect together once they're in a defensive position behind the Ukrainian line or close to it, and then they strike. There's no armor. See, here's the funny thing is, you hear these pundits, the big neocon pundits like Keane and the regular guys go out there, well, we don't see lots of armor. They pull back their armor because they're useless with drones. They're actually better using smaller units, okay? And that's what's going on here in Pokrovsk. So I think it's, as I said, this is going to start a chain reaction when it falls. I think it's going to fall in less than 30 days. And I think it's Russia's doing this well. So as I said, they're entering the city. They're putting pressure. They're also doing huge drone strikes and concentrating air attacks in the north. It looks like they're preventing Ukraine from already preparing defensive works for the next line, and also cutting off supply routes as well with these airstrikes, and also preventing any kind of a counterattack. Because once you take the area, whatever, you have to consolidate, organize a little bit, and that's like when you're most vulnerable after you've taken an area. So if they can get their crap together, they can do a quick punch counterattack. So they're already moving on to that once because they know they're going to take it. It's just a question of when. I think it's going to be relatively quick. And there could be a point in the north, if they really drive out, whatever, where it looks like there's a corridor. Now, because of the man problem, while before, like with Bakhmut and whatever, Divka, they were like, fight to the last man, and a very few hundred just got out at the last minute. We can't afford to do that. So they might withdraw out of the city even earlier instead of fight to the last man kind of a scenario. But yeah, they're pounding up here in the north where these red arrows are on this junction and focusing there. And then all in the southwest into the city, they're using those units. Like at one point, they were using like motorcycles to slip through. That's great. If you're worried about a drone, take 3 guys on a motorcycle. Don't ride too close together. You go from tree line A to tree line B, and you can get there before a drone can spot you or whatever. And then you do it again with another group. All of a sudden, you have 20 troops that you can congregate into that area. And it's those kind of tactics that Russia has been doing. They've adapted very well. Ukraine, too, by the way. They just different position. So, now in the north of it, Seversk, this is more the Konstantinova area, in the northern Donetsk. This area here near Seversk, they just taken this whole territory to the east. Because of their heights in this area, it looks like Ukraine has to move back even further west. So this is putting Konstantinovka more in risk. So, northern and southern Donetsk under heavy, heavy pressure right now going on. So there you have it. There's the topics I wanted to touch on tonight. I'm going to follow what's going on in the Middle East, these trade deals. Obviously, Pokrovsk. If I don't do a quick video on Friday to wrap it up, I might do one focusing on if there's any major changes in the war, in the Ukraine war, Pokrovsk situation, or any major political news. But I wanted to let you know about the pole dance thing, whatever. I'm eventually going to do a quick hit list type video. So we have a boom, 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 boom. I'll probably pin something to my ex as well and get her as well. So I'll be keeping on that, post and repost at my ex. X at Patriot Planner 1. Get her at Patriot Planner. All right. If you like this video, and I hope you did, please like, follow, and share. All right. Have a great rest of the week, and maybe I'll see you Friday, if not next week. All right. Enjoy.